Welcome, guys, to a weekly podcast that I am intending on doing every Thursday at this particular same time. I'm going to try to do it more regularly and answer all the questions that people may have. But at the same time, I would like to also bring on guests uh, and get to know them a little bit better and to see how they can, we can all learn from them. So this week we have Drew Gallagher. uh, he is a two-time Emmy award-winning producer, and he spent a lot of time in Hollywood. But ever since he has a family and a little kid, he moved to Utah, and that's where his wife is from. So that's where I got to know him a little bit better, and so I'm bringing Drew on. Hey, Drew.
Yo, what's up? We got
Hey.
me?
Yeah. And I know you had to move from where you were at because the cell signal wasn't as good inside the building. But yeah,
Shout out
where you
to
at?
shout out to Hell's Gate Gym. It's in Murray, Utah. It's becoming like a super popular wrestling gym. They got a bunch of OG equipment. Uh, yeah, man. I mean, I'm actually sitting in my 911 outside the gym, but it's an awesome gym. You guys should check it out, especially if you're in the area and you're into arm wrestling. They got a lot of great old school equipment.
Yeah, so Drew, I think first and foremost for people who don't know, what is an Emmy award for those who don't know?
So, in film, you win Oscars, and TV, you win Emmys. And sometimes
Perfect.
you make movies and you purposely make them to go on TV to be up for Emmys so you don't have to battle against Oscars. But on the flip side, when you do a movie with like HBO, um, like we did with Kevorkian and Al Pacino movies, HBO is going to fund the entire project. So it's not like you're going to go to a production company and the studio is separate from the production company. They are the studio. They're their own network. So when you go to win Emmys and you want to make really serious films, you typically find studios like that. Like if you go with Netflix and make a movie or something, you know what I mean? So it's kind of the television equivalent of the Oscars.
Perfect. And what were the two TV shows that you made that got you the award?
Well, you don't know Jack was the first movie. That's the Al Pacino where he played Dr. Kevorkian that I associate produced, and that got a lot of awards. And it kind of started putting me on the path to developing true stories. So then I pushed in and I developed that film Bigger about the Weeders and the fathers of bodybuilding. So I spent years with like in the Weeder archives, going through all of Arnold's early work and seeing how, because Joe Weider found Arnold, trained Arnold, and I really got to watch and learn and see how Ben and Joe Weider took bodybuilding, which was seen at the time as like dangerous. Back then the military would only do cardio; they wouldn't even barely do push-ups because they thought it was too taxing of the heart. So it wasn't until Joe and Ben Weider came, because all you had other than that was like circus sideshow, who can lift the most, like you didn't have any aesthetics, you had no bodybuilding. And so then they created the Mr. Olympia competition. Yeah. And then they brought Arnold over and started getting Arnold out there. And yes, I spent several years developing that. Brad Furman directed it. He directed the movie The Lincoln Lawyer. He just did that Johnny Depp Tupac movie. He's done a bunch of movies, but yeah, it was really cool because I was with Frank Zane, Arnold, Lou Ferrigno, all the OGs, going through exactly what they did, learning what it took for them to build their physique, and they all have kind of different approaches, and I see a lot of similarities. I was at the Mr. Olympia backstage watching these guys pump up. Some guys don't want to pump up till just before. Like it was really an interesting few years because I was deep into it. I even developed supplements and stuff for Weeder as well while I was doing that, and it gave me an inside look on how sports that were niche really took off and came to mainstream. For example, Joe and Ben Weeder started the first fitness magazine. It was called Your Physique, which ended up becoming Muscle and Fitness, and they own tons and tons of magazines and stuff. But basically, they put bodybuilding on the map, and they took it from being, like I said, this niche sport into being a real mainstream sport, and they did it off the back of creating characters and celebrities and superstars. Like, nobody would care about bodybuilding as much if Arnold did not exist. And they pitched Arnold kind of as like a California kid. They put him in the water all the time. But previously there was a guy named Dave Draper who was the California kid. And so it just kind of shows you that talent alone is not going to take people to the next level. I mean, there's a lot of guys in arm wrestling that I see that are so close to being able to be superstars. They have all the talent. They're just missing that key piece of becoming characters. So I think what's got me interested so much in arm wrestling lately, especially now that I've been pulling a lot. Thank you, Benji. Thank you, Adam, and these guys who Benji's really been like probably one of my biggest coaches, and you know but basically, when in dealing with movies and dealing with TV, people want characters, and so I think a lot of what I'm seeing is, oh, there's Benji. A lot of what I'm seeing is so much potential in this league, and so I'm kind of drawn to it. But I also see a lot of parallels to, especially the movie Bigger that I made on the Weeders. I'm seeing a lot of parallels between these sports. Like, arm wrestling is where bodybuilding was in the 40s. So yeah, so that's the film background. Al Pacino, lots and lots of stars, and lots of TV stuff. I'm an actor myself as well, but mainly producing has been and hosting has been my bread and butter. So yeah,
And to clarify to CBLA who posed this question, winner, not nominee, but winner, 2 times.
yeah. If and if you look, we also had a bunch of independent winning. So like we were nominated for, I think, and You Don't Know Jack alone, we were nominated for like 16 different Emmys. Like Pacino was nominated, lots of different categories. And then, I also did a documentary. So I spent a while with Dr. Kevorkian, in our team. And that was interesting. So I got to see, initially, we started with the documentary. I got to spend a lot of time with Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death. And then, while that was happening, the narrative scripted, $25 million HBO movie got set up where Pacino ended up playing Kevorkian. And so it's like I got to know the man first, and then I got to see how Al Pacino portrayed him. And Pacino really became Kevorkian, really became Dr. Death. So that was cool. It's funny, we were sitting at the Emmys, and I was sitting, I think, in front of Jack. And like he was just roasting all these people that were like giving their speeches and stuff. But then at the governor's ball, the after party, I was sitting next to Al Pacino's girlfriend, who at the time I actually thought was his daughter. Um, but he was roasting people the same, and it's like they were both very, very similar people. So, but yeah, so then when we did the Weeder movie, that had like Callum Von Mager he played Arnold for us. We had like the guy who plays the Superman on TV, Tyler Hoechlin, Victoria Justice. We even had like Tom Arnold and Steve Gutenberg, like a bunch of old actors in it. Yeah, it's just really cool because true life stories are really what I knew, and I knew how to set up, and it kind of just opened me to a lot of really cool experiences, getting to meet icons and know icons, and uh, really gave me some cool insight there. So yeah, and in film and TV, it's a really interesting world. It's very important, but it's also a rat race. And if you don't know how to run that rat race, or you're not willing to play ball, it's kind of like you're not going to go anywhere. So similarly to arm wrestling and what took bodybuilding to the next level, you got to kind of learn how to give the people what they want. And you got to learn how to kind of broad stroke things. Like I've seen a lot of people talk about how they don't want Hollywood and arm wrestling and stuff, but you go to anyone on the street and you go, hey, yeah, I'm doing this thing with arm wrestling. They go, oh yeah, over the top, right? Over the top. And all I'm thinking is, that's Hollywood 101. That's Stallone. I mean, we need Hollywood and arm wrestling to take it to the masses. And so I hopefully, I mean, as you know, I took a big pay cut to come do this because I really want to see this sport grow, you know?
So CBLA has a pretty good question. He says, where do either of you believe the money is going to come from to give the athletes livable income so it can be a lifestyle and not a pastime? I think that's what exactly Drew mentioned, is that in order for us to even get there, uh, the company, the organization, the league needs to first make money, right? Without that money, it's we can be always losing money to justify paying athletes a little bit more so that it becomes a livable income. And I think with more revenue coming in, more athletes will naturally make more, and then we will start seeing it to be a true full-blown professional sport. Because right now most of our athletes have a main job somewhere, and arm wrestling uh, is not really their full-time gig. And only a few lucky individuals have made it such, but I think once we have, with you coming in, Drew, you give us a little bit more insights, we'll get there. We'll get there faster. I think that's what I can say. Now, going back to production, what do you think it's some of the most misunderstood part of production that most people don't get? Uh,
Well, look, I call it like it is. I'm gonna say it like it is. The community is really rallied around like a handful of guys. And I think some of these guys have their place. Like I think Neil, he's a great stage announcer. I think Travis and Ryan are good commentators and good analysts. But I don't see anybody in arm wrestling before I came in doing anything with color commentary. Like everybody wants to hear about transition or King's move or the flop press, Benji's flop press. But if you would have told this to me 4 months ago, I'd have been like, huh? You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, well, what about this? You don't know about these matches, 8 years ago. Look, let me present an example. Hoist Gracie, one of my favorite fighters ever outside of Fedor. Could you tell me 5 of Hoist Gracie's matches, like legitimately, and how they went? You probably couldn't. We used to have to go to Blockbuster on a Friday, and my dad would rent us the UFC videos. But the reality is, yes, Hoist is a legend. Okay. But if you ask anybody on the street about MMA or UFC, I bet you out of 10 people, maybe one person will bring up Hoist Gracie's name. They're going to say Conor McGregor, John Jones. You know what I'm saying? It's like to get the sport to the masses, you need to show the Conor McGregors. You need to, you're not denying the history, but the sport has very much evolved since, the early days of arm wrestling. And it's like all these people who want to hold on so deep and tight to niche moments. It's like, yeah, appreciate them. The sport has grown from them and built off of them. But the reality is the sport is in a very different place now. And unless these people just want to see these leagues come and go, we got to start establishing these real characters. And I think the big problem in production that I see is these fans are gatekeeping hardcore niche, fans. And honestly, if arm wrestling in East versus West got an ESPN deal or a Netflix deal or something, overnight, the sport would change. There's a reason that Devin, hands down, makes the most money out of anybody that's ever arm wrestled. And it's because he's a character. He's out there. He's not gatekeeping. Like, he's not, he's putting entertainment out in every moment of Devin's life. And I see him backstage. I'm with him traveling. We're going to bars. Like, you, me, Devin have spent a lot of time together. And the reality is, even when he's on stage, after he's like in the middle of his match, he's going up to Morozov, like getting in his face, like trying to get Morozov to respond. Not because Devin gives a crap. She doesn't want any beef with Morozov, but he wants to build some rivalry, just like he did with Kurdecha. But if you notice, a couple matches later, he's cornering Kurdecha and stuff. It's like Devin gets it. Devin gets it's entertainment first. The talent has to be there. That's not discrediting the sport. But I think the problem with production is too many people are just boring freaking, we're just gonna try to talk about the same nuance analytics all the time. It just doesn't tap into any bigger market. And it also doesn't teach you who these people are. Like, for example, Joseph Morento, dude, the guy's on a tear. The guy's on a tear. We haven't got to know him at all. We don't know much about him. Imagine we had some really awesome content all the time of him, doing what he does. Maybe he trains weird. We don't know. Let's see what he eats for breakfast. Let's see what Moriarty Mindigus. That guy's freaking looking awesome. Let's see. I mean, that guy's kind of like scary. Let's see what's really behind the curtain there. But then you see him backstage and he's like playing with this little kid. It's like, if we could turn production, clean up some of the issues we've had. It's hard going place to place to place and having the buildings have problems and then getting blamed for us, but clean up production, and then we can really start to give the community the insights. Like when we had Levon at dinner and we had him rapping Tupac, and Levon was like almost tearing up talking about his little puppy. He's the world's biggest freaking dude. Literally, the Georgian Hulk is the Hulk, and he's got this tiny little cute dog. Like, if we can start to focus on who these people are and less about the most nuanced, left-handed match for 10 years ago, it's like, it's important. It's brought us to where we are, but we need to know who these guys are. We have to build these guys up. Therefore, the money will come when the characters and the rivalry come, and we start to do these uh, pre-event pieces very similar to UFC Embedded. Like, the rivalries are going to build, and people are going to want to watch. Oh, I want this giant dude to kick, or I want this little guy to kick this giant guy's ass. And then they're going to go, okay, how's he going to do it? And then they're going to start digging deeper into the sport. Like, oh, this guy's really strong, but maybe if this guy, has a really good top roll, or maybe if he gets in the king move and wears him out from the king's move, then I'll have a chance. So it's like they'll dig deeper once they're invested in the characters. Then they're going to get invested in the sport. And right now, all we have are analysts, and they're good analysts. I mean, you sit down with Travis, that guy knows this sport. He knows this sport, but I think from a production standpoint, something we could do better, and what we're doing better and working towards, is showing these characters, and building some of these rivalries. And it's like uh, people like characters more than rivalries, and I'll tell you, and more than analytics and technique, and I'll tell you two reasons: Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall. Both those monsters are coming to pull. Are either of them any bit high level tactical technician arm wrestlers? They're gonna be. They're learning, but in no way could you compare their skill to John Brzezin's. Not even close. But we're invested in them because they're special characters, and not just because they're huge and strong. They're entertaining. They get it, just like Devin. They're entertaining. And I think they're developing their talent super quick and their technique super quick, but they're doing it off the backs of being entertainers. And so yeah, let's build the characters. That's what production is missing. It's missing the color commentary. It's missing that fun excitement. It's too niche. And that's not disrespecting the niche. You have to have that. The talent, the skill, but jujitsu isn't reaching the masses trying to, like, you know, hardcore and super nuanced talk about all the techniques of escaping a Kimura, or how to get into a crucifix from a certain position. Jiu-jitsu is building these characters. This kid's autistic, yet he hops in the ring and he's like got some superpower. Like, that alone is drawing so many people into the sport, and then they're starting to go to local gyms, and it's trickling down. So, long-windedly, there's your answer. Let's build the characters. Let's
So
get
so
people
like
invested.
the question for most, as yeah, especially for many of the athletes, it's not second nature for them to be, not a lot of them are actually extroverts, or they don't have they feel like it's acting, and they don't like to fake something, right? How would you respond to that? Because it's to me, I think there's more to it. It's not really acting. It's just letting your character be more colorful, be a little bit out there. So, but I want to hear your perspective.
Okay, Levon. If you meet Levon, I don't think you're gonna get much more than a nice wheelie live action. I don't think you're gonna get much more uh from him other than a smile, a handshake, and yeah. When I went to dinner with him, and I was vulnerable, I was a little goofy, I was having fun, I was playful, which I took a lot of heat for. Um, you saw Levon go, okay, I can come out of my shell. I can have fun. I can be myself. Because everybody is this way. There is nobody, I mean, maybe Mindigus, but there is nobody who is sitting at home acting like Morozov is not sitting at home silent like this all the time. He's not. He's laughing, he's having fun. So it's not about presenting something that's fake. What they're presenting to you is fake. It's peeling back that fake shit and getting into who are they? Who is this person? And it's like, well, it's not natural for these people to say it's because they're scared. They're nervous. But when you can be a bit of a jackass in terms of just being playful and vulnerable, like I don't play cool guy. I don't go in there to be like, oh, I want to be the most liked or the toughest or act the hardest. I go in there completely raw, like I'm with like my family or my 3-year-old boy. I'm a single dad. It's like I play with a kid all day long. But also like when I'm on set with the top celebrities, some of the top celebrities are kind of introverted too. You know what I mean? Like they're not like you think. So it's like my job is to find a way to make them feel so comfortable they don't even realize they're rapping Tupac and dancing. So it's like what you think is really them and they have to act to bring something forward. It's not. That's not the case. The case is what you're seeing, this tough guy, that's the act. So we got to peel that back. And I get it. It's a very different. Well, that girl's pretty spicy. It's a very different approach to what the community's used to. But like, I think when people see that video that was shot in Arlington, where we spent all that time with Brzezinski, and we're just riding the bus talking with him, they're gonna see more of John than they've ever seen. And it's because he was comfortable. He didn't feel like so stiff, like he has to answer this perfect question about, what's he going to do in the transition, and that's important in its place. But what my job is and what's made me a success, I've done thousands of celebrity interviews. Like name a celebrity, I've interviewed them not just once, like multiple times. I get somebody has to be the vulnerable one. Somebody has to be willing to just let their guard down no matter what and be completely unabashed, playful, and themselves. And in that, it makes the rest of the room comfortable. And some people can call it cringy or whatever, but like you've never seen Levon talking and joking and doing his Stallone impression or whatever, like we haven't seen that. But that's the real Levon. The Levon that you guys see walking around, like, just being very nice, humble, friendly, but closed off. That's the act. So if you want to know what yeah, Nugo has a lot of potential. But if you want to know what the acting is what you see. And it's my job to peel that away. And then you get to see the real person, and then more and more over time, I'll have to do less work to pull that out of them. And prime example is Devin. You go up to Devin, even Devin, when the doors are closed, the cameras are off, and we're sitting there, that's freaking Devin. There is no act. Now, sometimes he kind of hams it up a bit more when he needs to because he's smart. But eventually, you're going to see guys like Morento or, Mindigus or Levon or Kurdeche. Kurdeche even started really catching on and doing great, that Polish Viking. But yeah, so the act is what you see. And don't fool yourself. They are not like this all the time. And trust me, I get to see them backstage. I get to see them, coming into the hotel and all that. And what you see in front of the fans and stuff is what they think they need to be. And what they actually need to be is just exactly who they are at home. And that's why Conor McGregor's, he's a nut, but you would not like Conor McGregor if he was just always proper and shaking your hand. You like that Conor's, at the club. Like you like that you actually get to see him vulnerable and talking, shit. And like, there's a reason he's the best at making money. And that's what I do. So the act is what you see. So don't fool yourself. Acting like, oh well, it's not natural for them. Well, it's not natural for them to laugh, to have fun, to have passions, to like things. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So I don't buy it. And I think once you've been around as long as I've been around, you realize, oh, I gotta work really hard right now. Like I work harder in East versus West than I do with all these celebrities. It's very hard, you know, because these guys are not used to it, especially if they come from different cultures. But you'll start to see people in the UFC come from Dagestan and very humble and quiet at first, and then in the end, Khabib's doing the flying eagle off the cage. Like they let their guard down. So again, my answer is what you see is the act, and it's my job to wipe that away and let you get to know these characters.
So a little bit more media training from you, or just more time, you know, you're with them, interviewing them, and trying to draw their true characters out of their shell.
Yeah, it's not even media training. The problem is like we have all these very stiff, oh, you know, you know, just very basic, stiff questions. There's no room for it. Let me tell you something. There's technique um, to what I do. There's a very simple method you learn early in acting and hosting called the TACK method. Tension, action, creativity. We get tension from some of these hosts and from, no, I'm not calling anyone specifically out. What the stakes are high. That match is very seriously intense. And then action, you know, where are you going to go from here? What's next? And we get that. But what we don't get is the seat, the creative, where, okay, now that you're done with all this, where are you going to go to eat after? And oh, what are you going to get? Ooh, are you going to get dessert? What are you going to eat for dessert? And the second you can ask them something deeper than just, you know, uh, how hard was it to stop him in the middle? Like, or hold him in center, or how hard was it to crack the wrist? Like, the minute you get the questions about what they Uber Eats when they're home alone, or you have to find ways to just pry them open a bit. And then before you know it, they're going to be much more fluent. But also, it comes from our side. I'm here specifically for that. Everyone knows I'm only been into arm wrestling for 4 months, and I've only been pulling for 2 months. Look, I power lifted for a long time. I'm 166 pounds. I deadlift 500 something pounds. No lie, put it to the test, and I'm strong. But our camera guy Ian will still dump me. Benji will make me look like a fool. And so for me, I've been obsessed. Bob Brown and I go to the gym every day. I'm gonna go to his practices. Like I'm obsessed with learning, and I got the book. I'm really into it. So I'm getting deeper into that. But the reality is I'm here so I can make people feel comfortable by being slightly acting in a way that might be uncomfortable to them because there's no pretension of me. I'm just doing what I want to do, having fun. And as that starts to come natural to them, they'll start to bring more of that that creative. And when that creative and those questions start to dig a little deeper, we start to reveal things. Like, you would be shocked to know Levant does not eat that much food. You think, oh God, he literally is the Hulk. He must eat 80,000 calories a day. Levon does not eat that much food. It's it's
True.
you know, so it's like you get insight to what they're actually doing by talking about real life, and that's when these characters come out, and that plays back to everything else. But you know, there's just a technique to it, but there's also just getting these guys in front of somebody like me who doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks. But I care about these guys. It breaks my heart that John Brazine is still turning wrenches. He might be on paper, possibly the greatest. Now the Z-lister of hugging elbows begging for likes. Buddy, buddy, I'm sitting on a 993 911. I don't care what you think. I date supermodels. Like, I don't give two shits what you guys think, and none of this matters. Okay. Um, no, but the reality is, it bothers me. John and his wife are so nice, and it bothers me that John's still turning wrenches. He's possibly the greatest athlete of all time, and for being a dominant in a sport. And so it's like, all these niche guys, like whoever that was just talking shit, bringing up a movie I did when I was 21. Like, look, it's guys like that that are harming the sport. But on the positive side, uh, these interviews we're doing, and we got a bunch in the editing room. They're starting to bring more eyes to the sport. They're starting to open up. Um, yeah, and the thing is, but no one can take away from me is, bro, I love arm wrestling now. After the event in Chicago, everyone's breaking the stage down. Benji, Ian, our camera guy, we're up there, we're pulling our ass off. This is after the after pool at Pavlo's. Like, we are deep in the trenches having fun arm wrestling. And it's like, haven't been doing it forever, but neither has Brian Shaw, neither has Eddie Hall. But let's not hate on them. You know what I mean? So I think the love for the sport for me has grown a lot, and the appreciation for the technique. But it was Devin that actually introduced me to the sport. It was seeing Devin, this guy that looked like my dad, all juiced up, turn his hat around and do this crazy shit. Like, that's what brought me into the sport before you formally brought me into the sport. And so it's like, if I can offer people a look at who these guys are, uh, and bring a bunch more eyes. The money, the sponsors will come. Sponsors are already more excited with what we're doing. And when the sponsor and the money comes to us, it's going to trickle down into the local gyms. Michael Todd had to raise all that money to build his own gym and do his thing, but that's a great feat. It's a beautiful gym. And he got that because he is one of the most famous. Like, he got that ability by being a character, being out there, putting himself vulnerably out there. He's like showing his new dogs off. Like, that's where the money came from. And he invested that money into his gym that you, I, or anyone else that loves the sport like we do can go to and train. And it's like, so all of these people putting themselves out there as characters is what's going to bring money and going to invest into these smaller gyms in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, Arkansas, name a state, it doesn't matter, middle of nowhere, Utah, it's like, so it, it's all about getting these guys paid. I hate that they're doing other jobs, and it is what it is, but that's changing, and I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, and they're going to be, but it doesn't matter, because what's best for the sport is that these guys can focus on the sport and focus on getting better and not have to worry about other stuff. And it's collectively, I mean, the sport is definitely, even in the 4 months I've been here, things have started to lift up. I mean, you and Robert are really making moves to bring the masses to the sport. And look, people are going to be uncomfortable with it. It's fine. But they need to think of these guys who are busting their ass to be the top at this sport, and having to go to work every day. And I don't like that. And neither do you. Neither is Robert. Robert's a hardcore puller. I mean, that guy loves the sport so dearly. And he himself uh wants these guys to make good money. He wants these people, because he wants the sport to be at the highest level ever. Robert's super competitive. People think because he's such a nice guy, and he's composed and he's articulate, and he's calm, he's not super competitive. Dude, if you guys saw that cold plunge, we were there, Dex. We were
Yeah,
at that cold plunge.
that's right.
That guy has ice in his veins, and I'm telling you, Devin was uncomfortable. Devin's a savage. There's a reason he was in special forces in Canada. He is a savage. He was fighting it. And but Robert's like really competitive, really hardcore competitive. And so I think the fact that he is the most authentic arm wrestling, I mean, he's as authentic as any other arm wrestler, and he just happens to be the owner of the league. And I think that goes a long way. And I think the love for the sport is gonna come, and from the mainstream and from the masses. And I think people catch the bug. Like, I caught the bug. you know, and I'm in here, you know, doing some pronation lifts, Michael Todd style. Like I'm busting ass because I love Benji. I love Ian, but guys, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, right and left. You know. So
Adam wanted me to remind you that he smashed you the last time he met you. So, and he and Benji, they are arguing right now because Benji's in your corner.
for the record, Benji, you the man. Uh, Adam probably would still smash me even after heart surgery. But Giannis, I'm looking forward to seeing Giannis again, working with Giannis more. You know, the very first time I ever gripped up was with Giannis, and that's what blew my mind. That's what made me think, oh, there's so many levels to this sport, and that's what really probably got me to catch the bug. And then Benji, you know, teaching me some tricks, you know, almost like you're reading your watch. Like I'm obsessed, and Benji's gonna train me Rocky style. Adam, I'm coming for you. I might as well get you now while you're kind of recovering. But yeah, you know, the love for the sport came from me seeing an entertainer like Devin to actually gripping up and realizing, oh shit, my strength, you know, isn't just gonna win me this match. Respect to Ian, I probably a stronger human than him, still kick my ass. Adam definitely kicked my ass. Uh, Benji would be nice and act like Benji just toys. He just toys with me, but these guys are really, really passionate and they're open and they're some of the best things that arm wrestling has right now are guys like Benji and you know these others who are like teaching and showing Giannis and showing and not just being like, oh, you're not an arm wrestler. You've only been doing it for 4 months. Well, shit. How long has Brian Shaw been arm wrestling? Like legitimately arm wrestling. Nowhere near as long as Devin. Nowhere near, but the dude's obsessed. He's got the bug and he's training hard. He's got the strength but now he's like so dialed on technique. So it's like, how many months does it take before someone can be considered an arm wrestler? You know what I mean? And I think the guys that I just mentioned they're like, dude, if you want to be an arm wrestler and you grip up and you start pulling, you're an arm wrestler. And so that's the attitude I think the sport in general needs to get because to bring other people on the outside in, people are going to have to realize it's not just their little niche sport. Like, why not have other people come in? Why not? That means more people are going to join your gym, more people are going to join the competition, more people are going to bring money into the sport and give you the ability, being someone who is more advanced, to make more money and do things at a higher level, even when you're not necessarily a pro or something. And it's like, it's coming. It's coming. And you know, I think you could compare apples to apples with this. And this is not a knock on another interviewer or something, but Devin was laying down backstage and an interviewer went up and held the mic down and asked him a few questions. Really cool. We had to come back and we were live on the pay-per-view. I went back there and I just laid down with him. And we're like, and the difference in viewership is astronomical. I mean, I don't know. It's been up for what, 2 weeks, a week and a half, and 3, 4, 500,000 views on that one on Devin's page, 350 or something like that right now. Like it's again, it's that accessibility. Devin has never once made me feel like I don't belong. He's taught me, you know, when we were doing Barstool, heading into it and leading in. Devin has never once been like, oh, Drew's new to this. He's only been here 4 months. Auden, Jody, you know, like even Auden, you know what I mean? Oh, bro, you don't want the strap on this side. You want, you know, like you want to make sure the other guy has a strap. Like early on when I was just learning, it's like, you know, we're pulling in the lobby, you know, so it's like it's all about teaching people and not just being like, oh, this guy's not as good or he hasn't been doing as long. You know, it's like if that were the case, guys like Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall would not be entering the sport at all. Like Devin is training them, you know, Neil is training, like people are opening up the gates finally on the sport. And I hope the fans can just follow suit, you know. And it seems like a lot of the fighters at first might not have understood where I was coming from, but I've got a bunch of nice feedback. Uh Andre Sharkovich, the Shark, you know, Paul Lynn, I could list. I got a ton of message. Morento, talked to me. Lots of guys are like, dude, yeah, this is what we need. This is what we need. And it's like they're getting it. And the more that they are welcoming and the community is welcoming, the more I'm training my ass off. You know, when I'm back in LA, I'm gonna be go to practice with Henry and Benji and those guys when I'm here. Um, Saturdays at Bob Brown's house. You know, we're gonna get a table and put it here in Hell's Gate Gym. There's tons of guys here, super into pulling. And so yeah, you know, I think the gatekeeping, you know, all the negativity, I think it's just very transitional. It's not going to stay around. You know, the sport's growing outside of
I wouldn't worry
anyone.
about it.
Yeah, there's not one single person in this sport that could bring it down. It's on a steam train right now. And it is expanding and exploding. And dude, you were were you in Malaysia when you were in that arm wrestling gym pulling a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, you're literally in Malaysia in an arm wrestling gym pulling, and you're one of the league owners. It's like everybody who gets into this sport and gets a taste of it goes, "Oh shit, this is awesome."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you were spot on. There's a lot of I think initial shock. People don't like naturally people don't like changes, right? But so I wouldn't take anything personal, and this is like, one of the comments is you're not an arm wrestler, but like what is an arm wrestler? Do you need a world championship title to be considered an arm wrestler? I got the same, flag even not too long ago, but I wouldn't worry about it. I think once people get to know you, it's not a big deal. But here's a guy who challenged you. Says your car would lose to my bike.
Oh, bro, I don't spray tan. I have a 3-year-old. I take him to Lifetime and I lay by the pool after with him. But it doesn't matter if I do. What do I? I mean, what would I care? You guys think I care so much, but
uh,
you know, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. You know, it's like I'm sitting in a vintage 911. I date beautiful women. I have life is fine. I'm here because I love the sport. I'm pulling all the freaking time. My elbow is so sore right now. Oh God. For the record, I am 1-0. No, I'm like 1-6 on the left, and I'm 0-5 on the right. Like for like legitimate, I'm really trying. So.
no, you're 1-5. You beat me on the right.
Oh, there. Oh, yeah. I'm wondering if I did each other.
So there was actually this question, right? Dex versus other Drew, who wins on the table? And like we lost. I lost big time to Drew. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
Drew has a really strong base, and that's something I don't, because I mostly play a lot of when I was younger. I played a lot of badminton. I went to a school where we had like 10 courts and everything. So I'm a badminton guy, and I don't think badminton translates very well to arm wrestling, unfortunately. But no, it's definitely true.
I
All
forgot
right,
about
so
our match.
yeah, you
Oh,
forgot
I
about that.
lost. I on the right. I lost to Sarah Bachman, but at the time, honestly, I didn't feel comfortable like really trying to go at it. And now I would. Now I'd feel comfortable because I get it. But at the time, I was like, I don't really want to go after the. But yeah,
Okay, so knowing that you have you have a lot of connections. I mean, matter of fact, the other day, I don't know if you remember when Robert and I we were brainstorming, fun ideas on what we could do outside for next year. And one of the ideas we had was maybe if we did a over the top reunion kind of event where we gave away a semi truck, right? And then we're like, oh well, but we don't know Stallone. How do you get him? It's like, oh, I know a guy. Let me give that guy a message. And lo and behold, in a matter of minutes, you sent me Stallone's manager's name, his agent's number. You send me his personal contact information. You send me all those, and like, ooh, whoa, okay. Well, we do have a path to get Stallone to our event now, but obviously we're not ready yet. It takes a little bit of planning and a lot of time to promote that special event. But at the same time, like it just goes to show a lot of people in Hollywood. So if you could bring one person from Hollywood, male, female, doesn't matter, into arm wrestling, who would that be?
to pull.
Well, to be at one of our events to pull. Yeah, like if you could get them interested, who do you think would be good right now?
Well, right now, like on paper, it would be The Rock. He internationally would be worth the most. But if it was like a personal opinion, who I would want from Hollywood, that's a good question. I would want, hmm, I think somebody like a John Cena.
Boom! Aaron Castillo wins the prize.
Oh, snap. Aaron. Oh, Aaron. Aaron,
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
up, buddy? Aaron also has passed some technique my way. Aaron knows arm wrestling pretty hardcore. He's also shared some technique. Again, it's 1:45 a.m. I've been working for 5 days straight, trying to get people like more is off to say more than I win, you know? I've been busting my ass to bring people content. Dog me or not, I don't care. I'm doing all I can to get that. And it's 1:45 and we're pulling our ass off. Everything's trying to shut down. We're breaking down the stage. And Aaron's like, no, you got to pull back first. Like, everyone in that crew loves freaking arm wrestling. So much so to where when we're literally having to break the set down, we're on that stage and we're like they're alternating. Not me. I'm not doing the work. I can't take any credit for any of that. But I'm saying while they're like alternating who's like moving which so we can get up and pull. And Aaron's like shouting shit like no pull like oh bro, Aaron, you were smart to say John Cena.
yeah, yeah. John Cena's pretty good, and yeah, I haven't really considered The Rock, but okay.
Yeah.
So here's another thing I want to ask you about. So the Emmys you won were for something that was scripted, pre-planned, but how do you conduct yourself when it comes to like live show hosting? What are the differences?
Oh well, on my Instagram, I was married for a while, and so I kind of just stopped and I left LA, around COVID because I'm usually MTV red carpet, stuff like that. I have a Wrangler in my ear telling me, okay, this is this person, they're from this, go, right? So a lot of times I know the people. I've had them in studio, which I have a press kit. I've spent a lot of time with them. But then you have people who are like the cast of Prison Break. Remember that show? We'll walk up, and it's like each one of those people have had independently a very successful career. And so, like, if I don't know everything that you know, whatever Don Purcell, every movie that Dominic Purcell has ever done, or a whole community of his fans are going to eat me alive. But I can't really be expected to know everything about everyone all the time, especially when it's on a red carpet. It's like Marlon Wayans, Salt and Pepper, just like the most random mix of who knows what Miley Cyrus. So you have to really again use the truth, and the truth is everyone Uber Eats, everyone watches Netflix, everyone. Bill Gates, you name it. But you name it. Everyone has uh, a life that they actually tangibly have to live. And if people actually knew how these celebrities live outside of what they see, they wouldn't necessarily maybe think life is so glamorous. Like, yeah, nice houses, nice cars, lots of traveling, but like you don't understand. When you're shooting a movie, you're literally sitting around for 9 hours in a little ass trailer, a trailer that these people wouldn't be caught dead in unless it was on a movie lot. It's like there's a lot of non glamorous sides of life. And so it's like when you realize that everyone is a freaking normal human, Cindy Crawford and I have hosted some events together. Dude, she's just a freaking mom. She talks about how her and her husband like have conflicting views sometimes on how to raise their kid or what's right for them, or so it's like there's a point where all this like things you think about them and their career and this flash and whatever their PR rep for whatever movie they're on is want you to get out, that's like all this like filter in front of us. So all you got to do is just be like, okay, cool, but hey, what did you think of the food in Thailand? did you go to this one spot? Like, you know that spot with like the little freaking like sauce that everyone like tries to get upset? Like, you just gotta poke through with real tangible things. Like, put your feet on the ground and literally feel the ground beneath your feet and realize like, oh, okay, it's easy to get caught up. But at the end of the day, these people had to take a car to get here. These people have to wake up and brush their teeth. So it's like that's where I've had a very long career on camera because I could be in front of the most famous people on earth, which I did for 12 years, 15 years straight. And I've been on all sides of the business, and I've had so many conversations with just people being normal. And yeah, their problems might be slightly different than your problems in some way, but at the end of the day, Cindy Crawford's like frustrated because she doesn't know what the right answer is for how she should, decide on whatever, her daughter should be able to do or allowed to do, or they still cook their kids dinner. Like, even if they have like private chefs, they don't always have everything all the time. Plus, they have to arrange that. Plus, it's like, so you really just got to learn how to poke through. And I think that's why I've had a long career, is because I don't care who anyone is. There's nothing anyone can offer me that I want that I probably don't have or haven't had. And what I really don't. I'm not obsessed with stuff. I'm not really obsessed with fame or Instagram. Like, and neither are they. Once they've had it and once they've been in it, dude, they're more about like, oh wait, a cool place to like go get some coffee that like does something weird, or like good, like that's everyone. I hate to burst your guys' bubble. That's freaking everyone. So it's like that's the technique. The technique is, who is this person? Forget all this, yeah, I have, when I'm doing interviews in studio or with whatever celebrity, yeah, their press team is over here, their personal press team, publicist. The studio and network for whatever movie they're on has their publicist there, right? And they, each of those have their agenda, and then I have my producers and stuff. They have agenda for me to have, but at the end of the day, it's more or less like, oh, dude, like, where's the coolest place that you've been on vacation? And like, did you try surfing? And like, what was that like? Were you able to stand up? Like, were the waves scary? Like, like that's the way in. And so yeah, that's a long-winded technique, and the technique that I roll with, and
So so
Devin Devin gets it. Devin gets it. Devin gets
so
it. I haven't met
here's
anyone
another
else in arm wrestling that gets it.
there's another good question here. Coming from a more, an outside perspective, and somebody who has a lot of experience watching. Yeah, I think you've hosted for the NFL as well, for other sporting events, and also for the powerlifting community. What do you think about this statement? We need more women in this sport.
Well, I agree with that statement on multiple fronts. I think there's been one advocate begging for freaking ring girls. I know they're talking about the Sarah Bachmans of the world. I get that. And yeah, of course. And there's a lot of them coming up. But can we just get some freaking ring girls? Yeah. No, but I think women are starting to pick up. I see especially more attractive women on Instagram getting a lot of hype with arm wrestling. And I think, honestly, all of that, Sarah Bachman is freaking killing it. Killing it. You have a bunch of other girls who maybe more talented than her or more experienced, maybe not, but like, not one other female is doing what Sarah's doing on the level that Sarah's doing it. And she will by far and away make more money and bring more eyes to the sport than Fia or these other girls who are like maybe a little bit more introverted. Now, like, she's a mom, I get it. It's a different thing, but I think bringing more women into the sport involves getting more women being outspoken about the sport. And I think it's not necessarily uh, any one particular person's fault that we don't have more women. I think it's actually the women that we do have that are in it aren't upholding their end of the bargain per se. I think, there needs to be a bunch more media for them putting it out there. Actually, Ryan Bowen's wife, I see her out there quite a bit. I think she's doing a great
Jenna?
job. I think she's
Yeah.
doing a great job. I think Ryan and Jenna are doing an excellent job together. Uh, so people like her and Sarah are doing it right. And I think there's a lot of other women that could be doing the same. And I think there's a younger community of women coming. Like, I kid you not, at this gym, Hell's Gate, there are some chicks that I see pulling. And that's a rare thing at just a random gym, you know what I mean? So it's like, I am encouraged that women are into the sport. It's one of the most natural sports ever. We've been doing it since like even pre-Egyptian era. Like it's like one of the longest sports in history, longest running. And I think it's a very natural thing for men and women to do. And I think women just need to speak more about it. And the more that they speak about it, and the more you have uh beautiful women, I hate to say it, speaking out about it, the more that other women in general are going to want to get into it and see it as not a masculine thing. And that's I see a big movement on Instagram with like a younger community already. So I do think we need more women and some ring girls. But I do think we need more women getting out there because there's a lot of them in it. A lot of women are in this sport and they're just silent. And I think it's because there's a bit of a masculine stigma. But look at bodybuilding. Look at the WBFF. Look at the NPC. Look at the IFBB. They're women in fitness, especially in the last 5 years, is on such a different level. And women were into fitness prior to just this recent boom of Instagram exposure, but it became normal for women to be buff.
Oh, uh, Drew's out for a second. While that's happening, I like to add that in Dana White was also in the same boat. He initially talked about he didn't believe that UFC had a place, or where women had a place in UFC because it was too brutal. But at the end of the day, we look at Ronda Rousey, right? She's one of the top earners out there. Amanda Nunes, another top earners out there, and I think it slowly needs to gravitate towards that, where women will have its day, where they are, they'll play a bigger role in the league. So, all
Sorry,
right, back.
back. Yeah. Okay. What questions do we have next?
So last one, we'll take one last question from me, is how do we get to the next level in your opinion? How do we take arm wrestling to the next? I know you've talked about getting the athletes more likable and everything, but what do you think is the next step? Is it a broadcast deal with Netflix, Hulu, one of those guys, or is it more documentaries? What would be the next obvious step?
Okay, so I sent you guys a show I wrote called Under the Table, and essentially it's a UFC embedded ripoff, leading us into uh the event. We need bigger numbers at the event on the pay-per-views because that's what we're gonna take to sell this and get bigger people involved. So we are going to start hyping events by sending a team out to cover the top athlete on the east side, the top athlete on the west side. We're going to spend a day in their life. We're going to see them training. We're going to, see what this match means to them, and we're going to get invested. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to get really invested into their opponent. And then now we have these two freaking sides. We're like, man, I don't want this guy to win. I want this guy to win, or I don't want this guy to lose. Like,
Oh, there we go.
I really see pre-event hype as the single most tangible catalyst to driving pay-per-view sales even higher. And then I see the events starting to go, you know, bigger, and the anticipation for the events getting bigger. And then on production, we need to really shoot um we really need to shoot a big piece showing how exciting this is, and do have a bunch of cut downs, the pyrotechnics, the cold sparks we always have, these crazy characters, big Instagram personalities with a lot of followers, and we package it and we take it to Netflix, we take it to ESPN, all these different sports, and it's just all about building a really appealing package. And we're right there. We're right there. We're not that far off. Once we just start doing consistent broadcast, consistent pre-event hype, there's going to be a UFC embedded before you see a UFC match. Like, we just need to get our broadcast. We're fleshing out the broadcast team. Everyone's starting to kind of find their place. And once we get these consistent show after show of really good, clean broadcast, and we package it, we're for sure going to make a deal. And that deal that just gets us on one bigger platform, and we have the right content for the bigger platform. These analytical interviews is not going to get us onto a bigger platform. What's going to get us on a bigger platform is Devin laying on the ground and us interviewing him on the ground, or us on Barstool Sports, and we're not talking nuances. We're not talking like how to move, from transition, and how to really crack the wrist, or, add side pressure, that's going to get there. But what I'm talking about is we really need to show the excitement, the Matt Maxes of the world. We really need to show a complete broadcast, not just the pay-per-view event. We need to have every bit of the elements leading up to the broadcast in order. And the entertainment, it's entertainment. I get it. Everyone loves the sport. They're purists. But guess what? Devin is a purist. He is pulling all over the world. But he's also as much, if not more, an entertainer. Because it's like, if Devin didn't have that skill, he would not be in this position to entertain. But just because he has the skill does not mean it's going to sell or go anywhere. It's the fact that he's a freaking entertainer, And so we need to really focus on the entertainment side of it, because these guys have to train. They have to be the best. There's people in the backwoods training their ass off coming for him, and they all know it. They're all taking their bodies to the absolute limit. So that's a given. Let's put that aside. That's already there. We need to focus on the entertainment, and we need to have a consistent structure of how we're releasing the entertainment, and really put together a nice high level piece that's worthy of the league. And for sure, one single deal, one chance to get on a big platform, and one event on a big platform will change the game forever. And I think a lot of sponsors are going to start coming in more. I know sponsors are already getting happier and more excited, but I think we are so close to being on the next level. And, since you and Robert came on, things are changing. Like, we were on Barstool Sports. You see Devin and I with Dave Portnoy. It's like, things are changing, and people don't have to like it. Doesn't freaking matter, because things are going to change without them or not. It's either going to die, and the league was already very technical and high level, but it was dying. And then you guys came in, and now there's legs to this league. This is not going anywhere. This is going up. And I can't imagine that we could go another year or two without landing a big deal. I just can't see it. I think there's too much energy, and the ball is rolling down the hill. It's only going faster. And you and Robert are a very good team, and I can, provide the door openings where they're needed to be, because what's there, that the elements are there. We just got to clean up the broadcast structure. It needs to be consistent. There needs to be that pre-match. There needs to be that, event going off clean. And we just need a track record of consistency with the lens of this is entertainment. The UFC is entertainment. High level fighters. But they're Hoist Gracie. Hoist Gracie was a crazy high level fighter, and the league was nowhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, We need the Conor McGregors, and we need to shoot the Conor McGregors. We need to give them the platform, ask the questions, and give them the positioning to be the Conor McGregors, because the talent's already there. It's always been there. It was there in the UFC for UFC 2, 3, 4. Hoist Gracie is Hoist Gracie, but the world didn't care until, we had the UFC had the right type of coverage, through the lens of entertainment. So that's what's next. Here you go. We made our hour, Dex. We made it.
Well, yeah, I know there's a lot of ideas there, and some of them like the documentary and the whole concept of the under the table thing. It's under discussion right now. Uh, there's lots of great ideas coming from the community and also from yourself, and there is one person who requested IV free that we reintroduce you. So I would like to be to open. I met Drew a couple of years back, and he introduced himself, and we got to know each other. We spent a little bit more time together, just hanging out, just having meals, and then it came up with like, hey, maybe you could uh, do and at one of my businesses, it was a restaurant, and he says like, hey, we should do something fun. We should make sort of a a short video about what you do and what the restaurant's all about. I was like, yeah, that's fun. Let's put something together. And so that's when I got to know Drew even better, and how professional he is, and the background. I've actually dealt with media before, but not at this high level. And so he was coaching me. We spent like, what was it, like 8 hours filming, and the final result was only a 6-minute video because I was really terrible in front of the camera. And that's how I got to know Drew. And so back in Arlington, I was about to head over to Texas, and I'm like, hey Drew, I'm doing this thing with arm wrestling. You want to just come as my guest? Don't do anything. And when he showed up, he was like, hey, uh you want me to come guide you and show you a little bit of things? Like, yeah, yeah, sure. And that's when I got to and that's when he jumped in, and he was not paid. He was just a guest who paid for his own ticket and everything. And then I reviewed some of the footages. I'm like, there's a lot of opportunities for us to improve there, right? And and if you see some of the videos that we've been doing, I've been trying to do, there's a lot of really good arm wrestling content out there. I mean, Ingen with his podcast, and Coach Ray, Voice of Arm Wrestling, he has his own, training videos as well. And then you have all the way to, you know, Arm Wrestling News, who comes out with, you know, updates. But what we don't really have, like Drew mentioned, is we don't have a lot of videos about arm wrestlers outside of their arm wrestling world. What do they do, right? What do they like to eat? Something simple like that, right? We want to be more. At least I felt like I want to know more about the arm wrestlers, beyond the arm wrestling's techniques and the skills and the capabilities and the training regimen. And that's where Drew came in, and he consulted, and he's helping out from that aspect, because I think there's a lot more to arm wrestlers than just arm wrestling, right? And there's a lot of more stories that we have in the works. We actually shot a lot more videos, but we just don't have the technical capability to edit them all, just because we are just short on manpower. But we will get caught up at some point, and then we'll release a lot more videos that really showcase arm wrestlers are just like me and you, but they're better in arm wrestling. But they do have their own day job. A lot of them are all medical doctors, and which is frankly surprising to me, because they would risk their surgical hands and their livelihood for what they really love. So that's how I kind of know Drew, and I believe he is very, very helpful for the sport. And and I think one of the comments earlier was, how can anybody uh go against somebody who's only here to help? That just blows my mind. So
Also, if you have a problem, come pull with me. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's up. I'm Benji, but my coach Benji, he's got me working. But Bob Brown. I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it. And the thing is, I'm really strong for my weight and my size. So you better watch out, because as the technique comes along, I'm gonna start tossing some of these haters. We do need to give a shout out to good old Henry. I haven't mentioned Henry. It's guys like him that are propping up the sport in a way that is like he's like the Ariel Helwani of arm wrestling. He really is. He is an awesome asset. He is both technical and entertaining. You know, uh, he was talking to I think today about what would happen if Levon gave him a wedgie. You know, that is what we need, and that's what we got. And the sky's the limit for this sport. And I love it. I'm here pulling. You guys want to see me at Bob Brown's practice on Saturday? Come on out. Talk all the shit you want, but when it comes to getting on the table, careful. I'm 1-6 on the right side, 1-5 on the left. So
Well, anyway, thanks, Drew. I will see you maybe on Saturday. But but for everybody else, I'll be answering a couple of questions shortly. But yeah, Drew, it's great to have you, and we'll see you.
yeah, stoked to be here. Thanks, guys. Catch you at the
Oh, he dropped out. It wasn't me. It totally wasn't me. So, okay, I know a lot of you have a lot of questions for updates, and I'm happy to answer some. Uh, and keep them coming. So while that's happening, um, there's this question: why doesn't Blaze or Five Guys sponsor EVW? Well, first and foremost, uh, Robert does not own, and he's not a franchisor. So that's a special distinction. He's not a franchisor. He's a franchisee. So he does not own the parent company. So just to clarify, that's why. And also, Five Guys actually has a really different approach in business. They don't spend money on marketing, and which is why you don't see ads or any special videos, and they prefer to go the old school word of mouth system, and it works for them. So there's that. Um, let's see. So yeah, Mobicry, I do agree, and it's probably my bad. I probably should spend a little bit more time. I briefly mentioned him, and which is why there's a lot of questions as to why this is not on the EVW channel. I think there are certain certain videos and podcasts such as like this with Drew, where it we are trying to uh, well, this is through the direction of a Hollywood agent. So what a Hollywood agent does is that they will go out and get us deals such as sponsorships, and also deals such as a broadcast, agreement, where the goal is potentially that we don't want to be on a pay-per-view platform anymore. We want arm wrestling EVW event to be broadcast to everybody, and it's easily accessible, right? And what in order to achieve this, we got to look a little bit cleaner, a little bit more professional. And one of the things here, that under the advisement of Drew is we got to clean up some of the things. However, I think the fan still wants to hear and get certain updates and questions, and it shouldn't be if it's on my personal channel, it's easy to click and just watch, just like video record on my handheld, like how Devin does. But that kind of style shouldn't live on EVW official channel. So that's why it won't be there. Um, Jolene Clark, happy to send me a message. Send me an email. Is Dexter at evwsports.com. Love to look into that. Um, okay, let's see some of the questions. Now, I know there are a couple of insults out there, and it's all fun and games. Wolf was one of them. It's okay. It's okay. It actually helps the YouTube algorithm to get me out there. So like and subscribe if you haven't. Uh, let's see. Okay, Dadikan and Alijan. Okay, as everybody knows, I am still relatively new to the whole arm wrestling world. So these hyper fictional, for now, theoretical matches won't be answered by me, because I'm not the best person to theory craft. matches for now. Uh, let's see. Try. There's a lot of questions. Whoa, that I skipped earlier. Okay, so you know what? There is another video. One of the podcast ideas is I may bring on um, the owner of Gold Star Coffee, and I was just talking to him earlier today because I think there's also a pretty nice perspective on what a s- corporate sponsor looks for before he, you know, approves a sponsorship. And so, yeah, so this that's also one of the ideas. How many years have I arm wrestled? Less than a year. And for people who don't know my background, I am business partners with Robert Baxter, who, again, I have to reiterate, he's a seven-time WAF world champion and still competing. And matter of fact, he medaled last year as well. This year might be a bit of a challenge. I'm still convincing him to go, but he's been so tied up with everything. He hasn't been really able to practice as much. But he's a seven-time WAF world champion, and he's good friends with Ingen, right? And then I was brought in to EVW 15 in Istanbul. And again, like Drew is, I got the bug. I got the bug. The difference was I pulled Ingen's son when I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just doing basic old side pressure stuff while he's, you know, top rolling me, and I was severely injured. So I was out for several months before I start, and I'm now kind of pulling here and there. So that's that question. Oh, hey, Henry's in. Let's see. Okay, so there is a qualifiers that we are planning on working on, and I've spoken to Robert about this, whereby we're gonna try to create a massive network of lower tier. It is like, the NBA, they have a lower league, the soccer, they have the Premier League, and then they have like the Division 1, Division 2, right? We were going to create something like that, and it's going to be a little bit challenging to host them all, within internally. So we're going to find partners within every region: Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia, East Asia, South Asia, right? Every country will have its own representative, and then we'll, within certain guidelines, they will all stream for free every Friday evening. And every Friday evening, it will be some part of the world. There will be an arm wrestling event of a pretty high tier within that region. So obviously, all those will need some planning, and I anticipate that won't really start until potentially next year, because what's better than free arm wrestling? Not really. So there's that. What made me take on the East versus West role? I would say I just fell in love with the sport, just like Drew. Like, is everybody can talk about. Well, what is the actual definition of an arm wrestler? Is it somebody who has won at least a gold medal, or has somebody competed professionally? I don't know, but I still am a little bit hesitant to call myself an arm wrestler. I still, maybe it's arm wrestling wannabe, but I I I just love it. I just love it. Like, you guys saw, like, I travel around the world to arm wrestle people and just go for practice, right? Nonetheless, but it's very unique, because the one thing I would say that I really enjoy arm wrestling in practice in Asia is that my hands aren't it's they're Asian size, and I'm sure the joke's gonna be popping up, but at least I'm arm wrestling with people who does not have giant, massive hands. I remember, like one of the first my first outing with Devin in Ingen's basement, when we were just practicing, and he was just showing me how to arm wrestle, right? And when Devin gripped up, his lower two fingers, his pinky finger, would be grabbing the bottom of my hand, because that's how massive his hand is compared to mine, right? So that's one part that I enjoy a little bit more from you know arm wrestling in Asia. Uh, and to clarify, Ingen was never fired. Ingen was never fired. Uh, let's see. There's a lot of messages I'm trying to read through. Now, okay, so just to clarify, there is that whole talk about ring girls, and Robert and I have discussed this to a great extent about ring girls. If you know a little bit more about Robert and I, we are relatively religious, and we are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter Day Saints. And I don't want this to be, if it's on the official channel, I probably would not say anything religious, but because it's my channel, I can say whatever I want, right? And by that also means we are a little bit more conservative now, but there are certain things that we don't do, but we also understand we can't, we don't want to inhibit the sport and the growth of the sport. So ring girls was something massive, and we were pretty close on pulling something off. I've personally contacted a few uh, arm wrestling, you know, women, but I ultimately pulled that back because I'm just thinking, if I had ring girls right now, would that add more pay-per-view sales? Would that grow the sport, or is just another distraction? So I haven't really got the full answer yet. Now, if for sure I have some solid data that shows, well, with a ring goal, then there'll be more eyes on the sport. Then perhaps I might do it, but not at this time. So I haven't been fully convinced yet. And if we were even to do so, they would still be modestly dressed. So just throwing it out there. Uh, Brian Shaw being one of the biggest arm wrestling, biggest sponsor. Yeah, he is one. I'm the real one. Dexter Henry. Yeah, yeah. Henry's the real one. I hope your family's strong, healthy. Um, yeah, yeah. So when the time comes, there are a lot. Like honestly speaking, like currently there's only a few of us within the company, and we are wearing a lot of hats. A lot of hats. And over time, like for instance, merchandise fulfillment, we now bring it in within the company. Previously, well, currently it's still done by a third party, and we're running into a lot of issues. Primarily, there's also a communication issues because we are taking all the questions and we're forwarding to them, and it's taking a few days before it comes back to us. Uh, that will soon change within the next couple weeks. But with the same thing, right? We're wearing so many hats, we have so many plans, so many projects, and so each project, example, one of the projects is that we would want all the rules, right, to be published, but that also takes time for people to go through them to make sure grammatically it makes sense because I mean, I was just in court yesterday to witness, some guy being sentenced, and you could see attorneys would twist and turn because they were not grammatically, and they would just play on those little words, right? So those will take time, but I'm just saying there's a lot of projects there, and one of the projects is to run those type of challenges series across all regions. Will take time for me to coordinate, and in time that would happen. Uh, yeah, yep. So Chance Shaw has reached out to us. We just haven't had time to sit down and you know just nail down all the details. So uh, Asian arm wrestling is pretty huge. Yes. Um, I I think there is a pretty big market in Asia. I mean, if you look at one of the largest grossing animation in history, it literally just happened. It's the Ninja 2. It's one of the Chinese. I haven't personally seen it, but I've it just the Chinese people paying money. It's massive. So I'm in contact with just a few guys, and potentially they could be part of East versus West by helping us broadcast our stream into China, because which is currently not available right now. Yeah, you're right. There's nothing better than free arm wrestling right now. Uh, compete in a tournament. Hmm, let's see. Yeah, I think you're not wrong, but I'm also pretty, I'm also pretty aware of my limitations. But I start arm wrestling. If I start this year, it's about when Toddzilla started. So that's I think one of the great thing about arm wrestling, the longevity is there, right? The longevity is there. Um, okay, so maybe to clarify Baku, and I think this is probably going to draw a little bit of an attention, and I'm trying to I'm gonna word my thing where I don't say the wrong thing, because there are people out there twisting my words, making things up, and reading between the lines, and no, and you could see this is totally not scripted. Baku, uh, to confirm certain things, we have never signed anything with Baku. We have not come to an agreement yet. And so where Baku stands right now is there are a couple of things. In order to have an uh, an event plan, we need we need absolutely need to have a few things, right? One of it is a venue, right, which Baku is now providing. And the second thing, we need matches. And among the matches, the most important one, like everybody knows, it's the headliner. If we don't have a headliner, we usually will lose a lot of money, right? And if the headline is strong, it actually makes or breaks the whole event. And right now everybody's saying let's do Vitali and Devin, but as Devin mentioned in his video a couple of days ago, he clarified and he made that commitment to Shaw Classic that uh, he will only pull, well, he has to pull right hand and left there, right? So his right hand is committed. He can change it, and he's unable to pull anywhere else at this time. So throwing it out there, Devin can pull in Baku, because it is not feasible for him to pull right hand. And he also mentioned if he pulls right hand in in Shaw Classic, there's no way he's ready to repull anybody else, much less Vitali. So there's that statement, right? Until we can find a headliner for Baku, we cannot do Baku. So there's that status. So anybody who's trying to bait Devin into going to Baku, that's not happening, because it's physically impossible for him to go pull again. So just throwing it out there. Next, Vitali's visa. We've been in contact with Vitali's manager, Dalal, and we are trying to get something going. And visas are truly not a problem. Truly not a problem. And here's why. The president of a local prominent university here, the president of the arm wrestling club of a prominent university here, and I don't want to mention which one in case I'm calling him out, uh, is actually a staff member of a high-ranking politicians here, and he is a big fan. I did not need to explain who Vitali Lalatin is. I don't even need to tell him who Lavon and Devin. He already knows. He knows everything, and he's very very willing to help us get Vitali coming to Colorado, and just a U.S. visa. So it is made clear that visas, not just for Vitali, but for any, especially priority on contracted athletes from the European side, s- to get a visa. So I'm just throwing it out there, totally possible. Um, but obviously, priority is given to especially athletes who have an upcoming match. So there's that. Um, let's see. Another good way. Dexter. Okay. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down. I'm coupled every time I speak. I'm not reading, so I have to kind of catch it up again. And there's a lot of filters in there. Uh, yeah. So Drew 24, you are correct. You are absolutely correct. Um, we've got a new team in place, and I think people would be pretty happy with because some of them, matter of fact, one of them was actually the original guys that start with East versus West, so they know arm wrestling. So uh, here's the other component. I'll read later in the messages. What do people think about the setup where uh, in say WAL or in Atlantic City where we had people sitting around the stage versus just flat watching just the front of the stage. I Because we are always having that discussion where it gives the energy, or but at the same time it's a gamble because if we don't have people like Henry who's doing that crazy face uh during the Devon's match, then it's not quite as interesting, right? If everybody's on their cell phone because it's a lower card match that they don't care about, how does that play into it? So I'm just I wanted to get a feel of what people think. So if you guys have any strong opinions, put it in the match. I would love to read that at some point. And for everybody who's also, I'm also getting a lot of emails, people asking how do they get an invite to the main event. I would say first and foremost, go win tournaments, win competitions, wherever you can win. I mean, like literally, the Shaw Classic, we have a tournament, right? Go sign up, go compete, win, get more eyeballs, and then overtime. So, like for instance, back in Chicago, we Riker Borman, right, against his opponent. I don't know if you remember him. How we picked him up was Robert and I. We were in some a tournament, like a super match event. It wasn't big. It wasn't super publicized and everything. It's called the Underground, and we saw how crazy, we saw how crazy he did, and he shocked everybody. And boom, he got an invite, right? So it's things like that. I would say go out, compete, go to WAF tournaments. That's what Ingen usually puts a pretty good mark on. But yeah, just compete, and create a name for yourself. Basically, create a name for yourself. Um, Baku got so much press over this. True. So Baku is not happening. So there's a chance that Baku could still happen if we could figure out the headliner. That's all I can say. And but because like every athlete has sort of like a window for them to compete before they have to take a break. Vitali has, from my understanding, and that could have changed. His, he was preparing for like early August, and for him to stretch him out all the way to late September, that's also not feasible. So if anything, Baku may happen for now. It's not completely canceled, and if it happens, it will be on the first or second week of September, because I believe September 20th it's WAF Walls, and we don't want to coincide with that. Else we'll lose a lot of viewership, and we'll lose a lot of support. From the athletes who are also competing there. So there's that. Um, let's see. Yes, we we are actively trying to make that happen, right? But there are a couple of roadblocks in the way. There's a lot of discussions that are happening. It's not completely gone. It doesn't look that great by the day because no matter what, Vitali still needs to travel to a different country to apply for his visa, and he still needs to be there for the interview in person. Like no, no. Well, maybe short of the president of the United States, everybody else will still need to show up at the embassy to collect his visa in person. Uh, so I know Elma has said this. But with everything else, he has also privately also messaged that, you know what, if Devin can't show up, the difference is there was a and to his effect, and maybe, you know, I'm disclosing a little bit more than I should, but there was a set big package, a big sponsorship package, if Vitali were to pull Devin in Baku, but without Devin, that sponsorship have shrunk. Uh, you know, and it really depends on the headliner. The bigger the headline, I mean, if Lavon to pull Vitali in Baku, I'm sure the sponsorship will explode again. So it's unknown. So that's probably why Elma said what he said. But point being is Baku is still up in the air. It's not a confirmed thing, but for sure, Baku will not happen in August. Uh, no, no, Vitali was offered a match with Devin, and maybe that, you know, that information is stale and old, but no, he has been officially offered by Robert, and also through a conversation with his manager. So I'll just answer a couple more minutes. Sorry, there's so much to go through. Uh, I just so that just so everybody knows. Um, I want to take some time to address this, right? What accommodations, including backstage, but what's accommodations? Now, just I know there I think was it Kalinichenko who also mentioned this about accommodations. Now, historically, everything was held in Istanbul, but when we brought it back to United States in North America, costs obviously has skyrocketed, right? And it's not that we are trying to be cheap, but you know, everybody needs to tighten their belts a little bit, right? And I think this is one of them where we try to uh we try to double up on you know, if especially staff members, we don't give them their own room. I've also shared rooms with people. Uh yeah, matter of fact, if you see um Georgia, I think it was Georgia, right? Ray was doing all his pre-match interviews. They were held in my personal private room, the hotel room, and matter of fact, I fell sick because he was doing pre-match interviews up, you know, past midnight, and I couldn't sleep. But that's what we have to do, and if people realize that even I, who's doing, you know, a lot of work here, I'm also sharing rooms occasionally. I'm trying not to, so I don't fall sick. Why can't athletes? Why some athletes, but not very many athletes share rooms? To be honest, I would say less than even 10% share rooms, because most of them, especially when they come with somebody else, we almost never say no if they're bringing a partner. That they always get their own rooms, right? Uh, maybe a few, maybe a very few. Um, Now, the one other thing though, like people could probably misunderstood everything, is we are still trying to play catch up in venue and whatnot. And so, like for instance, like in Chicago, we had a massive amount of interest, and the hotel just didn't have the enough room to supply, because the hotel that we were at on Monday to Thursday, they're mostly meant for corporate uh, meetings, and so on Monday to Thursday they were just fully booked up the wazoo, and then only the weekends they open up. So we had to go have everybody, not just the athletes, but everybody, including Robert and I, we were at a different hotel, which is off-site, and we had to move to the host hotel, you know, on Thursday, and you know, that could be a little bit of a hassle. I mean, we had several athletes who refused to move because it was just too much to pack and unpack. I know it's a hassle. People complain, but they need to understand that we are absolutely not doing this to to save money, because you can't do anything without the hotel rooms. That literally physically we couldn't. Um, so there's that. Um, Energy. Again, another question. Yes, there is a chance that Vitali can pull Devon, but it's progressing by the day. Matter of fact, I'm seeing my WhatsApp messages blow up because there is a an update on this, but I haven't read it yet because I've been on the podcast. But no, no, I have no current updates other than there is a chance. That's all. Um, yeah, Riker Borman is a very likable guy. If you've seen it, very likable guy. Okay, I don't want to go too long, else this video will go on forever. Um, this was this will happen again internally. We have discussed this. We will make this happen. I think many people will want to see this happen, especially with a little bit of the discussions about how some of the calls were made. But irregardless, I think people want to see this happen. Uh, Maybe having behind the stage empty during the first couple match, but then again, we don't want to show empty seats right there. You know what I'm saying? Um, n- I think it was my last week's podcast, and I made it clear that between Robert and I, we came to an understanding. We're giving all athletes one free pass because uh, they we don't punish people who don't know full information. But we're going to make it pretty strict going forward that if they have a problem, they should come to us and discuss that with us ahead of time and not openly disparage us before giving us a chance to answer them, right? So not quite yet, but it is. We've kind of made it known that this should be it, right? Going forward, we're letting all European athletes, Western athletes, any athletes, even staff members, if they have an issue, just come to us and let's discuss that, right? Instead of trying to pressure us into making a call because now the fans are supporting them, right? Those kind of things. Um, yeah, Henry's tickets is actually a little different. He has uh, a backstage pass where he creates content as well. Again, there is a program where you can sign on to be a content creator, uh, but obviously there'll be an agreement signed that you have to follow certain rules, such as not showing pins. If you're showing pins, you need to let us know, uh, yada yada. But yeah, if you would like something like that, hit me up for a media pass. But obviously, you need to be a little bit serious about doing actual content instead of getting a free ticket to an event, right? Um, Free tickets for content creators. Yeah, yeah, and I'll be honest. Like the bigger your following, the bigger likelihood. So we were contacted by several uh, non-arm wrestling celebrities in their own right. So one of it was like Anatoly. He wanted free tickets. He gets a free ticket. Um, so okay, I'm gonna spend maybe a couple more minutes and then I'm out. Uh, Cold water travel costs. That would have been fun, diabolical Billy. But no, no. We always shoot for 4 stars and above, at least 4 stars and above. Everything's clean. Um, foods. Usually, hotels would also provide breakfast. So, Wolf super chat, right? Again, let's see what super chat is. No clue who did this douchebag. I've heard it 5 times. No clue, but yeah, Ringles. Is this the one? Yeah. Let's see another super chat. 6-8 pulls are used to duck in arm gods. Who? Muscle bike. Let's see. Oh, we already got this one done. Jerry. Um, we actually have in the past few events we have actually invited Jerry, and for personal reasons he couldn't make it. But yeah, so we have been inviting. It's not like we haven't been inviting, but it's probably like schedule issues and conflicts and whatnot. But yeah, we have been inviting. Uh, Paris Hilton. Let's see. Okay, so I Anatolia is 8.6 million. Free tickets for a mention would be fair. Yeah, yeah. That so yeah, Anatoly is up there. Jerry and Camille. Yeah. Okay. Well, just one last thing though, everybody, like and subscribe because this is where I will be doing a podcast. Hopefully not this long, but I will start at 10 p.m. Eastern every week, every Thursday. I'll do my best to make it very consistent, and I will also answer questions. So if you have any other questions, anything that is bugging you, email me. If you have, so my email is dexter at evwsports.com. Don't spam me, else I will really have to block you. That's one of my conditions is spammers. Again, shout out. And if Drew is still watching this, thank you so much. And if you like to be on a guest of the podcast, happy to have you guys on. What happened to Camille? So I actually spoke to Camille the other day. Uh, you had a great talk, a lot of misunderstandings, and ultimately, I just want to clarify and remind Camille. I actually hypothetically asked him if he would come to Colorado. So, it's not to say we didn't ever invite him, but again, I'm not authorized to issue him unilateral an invite. But no, I think honestly though, a lot of the Europeans, they're just a little bit misinformed. So I would like to give, them an opportunity to hear us out and we'll talk to them. But for the most part, love everybody. Thank you guys and see you next Thursday, same time. And even to all my haters, thank you for the algorithm boost by all your contributions. Thanks.